What do you get when you finally have an average, hefty man in a nightmare simulator reminiscent of Silent Hill? Well, you get hell. Welcome back to Bogie Short Plays. I can honestly see myself as Roman, our 57-year-old protagonist, in just a few years, stuck on a train in a dilapidated station, all alone and wondering what the hell happened that would leave one in such a state. Except in my case, it would probably be disassembled and stripped to parts. Who is Roman and why is he here? What was RobertoSerraG thinking to make the main protagonist fat? And I love it. I'm liking this new wave of thick. It's something I can really praise. The time for thick is here and now. Also, you may have already asked yourself, why are the graphics settings set to low? Why not boost the graphics, Bogie? And I say to you, I'm going for an old school survival horror aesthetic this round, and no graphical polish will hinder the archaic gaming ways of my youth. I like it ugly, pixelated, with more boxes and jagged edge polygons than you can hammer a nail into a coffin. That's my appeal for old era graphics. Nostalgia. Nah, if you figured it out, you were right to think I had to set the graphics low because this thing is a hog on the processor. Graphically, it performs extremely heavy and will cause your PC a lot of torment. That aside, it's just not optimized quite yet, being in its infancy. And certainly doesn't diminish this game. This game already has glowing reviews from the demo, mostly for the love of being a clone to one of the granddaddies of the survival horror genre, Silent Hill, and it's clear why.
Oh, forget it. This is way too gross.
Fixed camera angles, survival stuff, odd puzzles, moody, and I mean moody atmosphere. So thick, it's palpable, with strange, hellish settings, eerie enough to squeeze the hope right out of an unsuspecting soul. And perhaps best of all, the monsters. As we first see them, are siren head looking figures, alien and foreign. It's creepy, unsettling, and likes to toy with us for some demented pleasure. Or maybe we walked into their homeworld and they see us just as unsettling, barricading themselves behind force shields and bars for their own protection. After all, we are the ones wielding an axe. Malicious they may seem, but they could be grossly misunderstood. Are we just as alien to them in their eyes? That's my hypothetical question, and leaves me wondering what the developer plans on doing with this story and these characters. Either way, Roman's not taking any chances, so neither should we. Also, mannequins aren't scary. At least they don't scare me. More appropriately, because of the Uncanny Valley, are they unsettling? I'm gonna go with no. But I love the lady mannequins with pointed ears, especially the one who I think the game refers to as the bloody one. I'm getting succubus vibes here. She poses no threat, but I felt tense around her as she just stands there holding out her hand, offering you an object. I kept thinking, will she bite my hand off? Will she use my axe against me and chop me in half? To say the least, she was imposing, at least at first. And please, game developer, make her a prominent figure in the full game release, as a continued support for Roman and helping him become a professional subway escape artist. We also get our very first threat, which the internet is calling the Crab Lady. With a direct blow of the axe to her front torso, she won't put up much of a fight. Otherwise, you'll be running around the stair railings in circles like I did, hacking and slashing. Eventually, this safer method led to my demise, which I wholly expected to have to return to the bloody one for the green gem, and obtain the silver coin again. But no, I actually didn't. In fact, this game is extremely generous on the saves, albeit because it's a feature built into the demo, but unlike classic survival and many games with save features of its ilk, you will lose all your progress from that point. Not here. I don't know if that will work in a full game, but here in this demo, it was nice. Our unfortunate hero may be waking up from his denial that he was bamboozled at the ticket booth for a one-way trip to hell, because he certainly knows this ain't no place like home. Story-wise, I'm not too sure. It's very Silent Hill inspired, obviously. Like those titles, it deals with a protagonist haunted by personal ghosts and the dark side to their own humanity, basically reliving the past in a dreamlike state that's more akin to hell on earth. Not fully aware that they're dreaming, and not that surprised to see something otherworld and horrible around them unless it gets critical. unlike the Silent Hill 2 protagonist James Sunderland, who returns many years later to Silent Hill upon receiving a letter from his dead wife, postmarked from said address, wants answers. Therefore, we have established James's motivation.
I'm not your Mary.
So, you're Maria. All I want from you is an answer.
Roman, as far as we surmise from this demo, is a man simply returning home. From work, from reclusion, we don't know yet. The breadth of the story is still in development, I'm safely assuming. Let me propose my theory where I think the story will likely take its root around his daughter. Taking place 13 years ago from the date posted on a newspaper we find early on the subway. And we know he has a daughter because he references her while he examines a poster of some old European architecture. Like any good old-fashioned horror game that deals with psychological horror, I expect a traumatic event happened to his daughter and he was involved or responsible in some way. You Feel Danger will meet you around every corner, but does take its time to use the atmosphere and unsettling imagery to set the mood instead of relying solely on cheap scare tactics. There are a few, but for the most part, it does focus on the atmosphere. That being said, you'll feel a bit of relief once you have the axe in hand as means of defense, because some of these ungodly sights will have you shuddering in broad daylight. I gotta say though, I'm not a fan of the running mechanic. Maybe if it actually felt like you could keep up an ideal pace instead of a quick dash animation and then an immediate loss, and I mean immediate loss of speed, which leads Roman breathless and back to his casual walk. I mean, sure, he's not in his prime anymore and looks like the tides of gravity have not been so generous with him, but I would like the jaunt to be a lighter jog. Anyway, this is a fantastic beginning to what I hope will become a full game release. It ticked off most boxes for classic survival horror, and since the iconic games of the genre have been in a massive surge over the last half of a decade, like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, many new developers have been trying their hand to create something original, but in the same vein. I'm excited to see more titles like these emerge. The big standout would be Tormented Souls of last year. It's a refreshing modern take on classic survival horror and an absolute love letter. It makes me think back to when the PT trailer was released 8 years ago. A lot of games have followed that style, and dare I say, gimmick, where you walk in loops, barely interacting with anything in the environment, baited for the next jump scare. I've never been that big of a fan myself. I don't hate it, I think I'm just tired of it, and it makes me appreciate the classics even more. So here is a toast to post-trauma and the love for the classic survival horror games.
Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?